The 762nd edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMASGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And we're also brought to you by Edge Boost. Earn up to $750 per month on your sports gambling transactions. Just go to edgeboost.bet and use promo code SGPN. And finally, we're brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMN.
Hi-yo, Degenerinos. Welcome to episode 762. Correct. 762 of the MMA Gambling Podcast, the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, dedicated to Andre Petrosky, of course, my boy. He came through. He came through for me once again. My co-host forgot which side of his bread is buttered and went against.
I'm gonna.
There he is.
I'm gonna talk about this performance real quick. First of all,
okay,
because if you recall my breakdown, I said I don't think either of these guys is gonna wrestle the other one, and I was right about that.
Yeah,
and I said that I thought that Rodolfo Vieira was better at striking. And I think I was right about that. The problem is he spent so much time and energy trying to wrestle unsuccessfully that he eventually wore himself down. And I think it looked bad on the judges' scorecards anyway, that he kept failing. I think if he just kept throwing those 1-2s, I think he wins that fight.
Yeah. His striking does look better, but he seemed to be pretty timid too on the feet, so I don't know.
I think he was running out of gas from shooting 700 takedowns.
Yeah, everyone was aghast that I was picking Petrosky, and I said Petrosky would be a better striker and have better cardio, and I think it all played out in my favor. Who am I? You may ask?
I don't think the striking part, but it was the striking part.
It was a striking fight, and he won, so he won via striking technically.
Man, I don't think his striking was better until he was.
How did he win then?
His opponent was tired. I mean, his striking was better when his opponent was tired. Yeah,
it's true. That is true. All right, Gumby. He's getting salty.
I'm bitter about that, and I'm bitter about Angela Hill winning that split decision.
Oh yeah,
she didn't win that fight at all.
I haven't even told you who I am yet. I'm Snowed and Jeff Fox. Even for some reason, we decided to go even further north on a weekend when there's going to be a storm, so we may be here a while, but that's fine. I got my computer, I got my internet, I got my mic. You people get me that.
You got regional MMA too.
I got regional MMA to cover. We covered 5 events for this coming weekend. We've already covered 2. We got 3 more on the way. I was thinking I didn't dedicate anything, but no, I did. It was Andre Petrosky, obviously. So we'll talk more UFC because they have another event coming up. A much ravaged event, sadly, UFC Seattle. Every second
a lot of
article,
newbies now. New newbies.
Yeah, every second article I read seems to be a fighter pulling out, a fighter retiring. So yeah, it still has its main event intact. So anyway, we'll be talking more.
Is that good though? Is that good?
Yeah, we'll talk about it on Wednesday. We'll figure it out. Today is all about LFA 202 coming into my neck of the woods. I won't be traveling to Niagara Falls, New York. I could be trapped at the cottage still for all I know by then. But this is coming Friday, Niagara Falls, New York. LFA 202. Nkuta versus Garcia. It's probably just Kuta, right?
No, it's Nkuta.
Is Nkuta at the Seneca Niagara Falls Resort and Casino. Gummy had a romantic anniversary at LFA there once last year, I guess.
If anybody is going to LFA 202, so this maybe is pertinent to people listening to this video. Some of you are probably going to this. If you're going to this, there's a culinary school up there. Can't suggest enough to eat at that. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe like the Niagara Falls Culinary Academy or something like that. It's something very generic. It's some of the best food I've ever eaten in my life. Shout out to them.
Really cool.
Yeah,
Niagara Falls Culinary Institute, perhaps.
Yeah. Did you just Google that?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
The Savor Restaurant.
Yes, that was it. Yeah.
There you go.
Highly suggest going there. Like all the servers, all the cooks, literally everybody there is a student, and it's fantastic.
Wow, there you go. I'm sure someone, at least one person watching and or listening are going. So we have a wide range, and this is a fairly good LFA event. It looks like, at least on paper. It's got some decent fighters on it. So we'll break it down after. I remind you, football's over, but NASCAR is back. As we're recording this, the Daytona 500 is just about to kick off. So you missed out on the contests that our friends at the the sports gambling podcast, NASCAR gambling podcast. What are they called again? I guess they're called the NASCAR gambling podcast. I guess.
Yeah, the NASCAR
yes,
gambling podcast.
Because they have a F1 podcast too as well. I'm not a race car guy, but yeah, the NASCAR gambling podcast was giving away prizes. But make sure you check out their show. They are always picking winners on the track, NASCAR gambling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube. All right. Decent fight card for LFA. No title fights or anything, but it's got good fights on it, I think, at least on paper.
Yes. It's got so it's got a guy off the Contender Series. It's got a guy who I'm absolutely perplexed the UFC hasn't already signed. And now I do have a couple of reasons why I think they haven't signed him. It's got a gal who I think is destined to be in the UFC in no time flat. And it's got some prelims on some fighters I'm really amped on too. So it's a good one. Nice.
Since one of the gals is Canadian, I'm guessing it's the other gal that Gumby's big on, but we'll have to wait and see.
We're talking about gals today.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I should actually get to the correct page now, since we're going to break her down. LFA 202, Nkuta versus Garcia, Niagara Falls, New York, February 21st. I told you all that. 9 p.m. is the start time, and it's on UFC Fight Pass. 11 fights. We're breaking down 5 of them in full, and then Gumby will give you his bonus round picks, as he is wont to do. No odds for this event yet, but Gumby can make his best guesstimates and then act accordingly. Even if his guesses are off, sometimes it's even better when his guesses are off, because you can get value on the other side of the line if he's incorrect with his guess. All right, we're starting with the female fight. Yes, that's right. We are covering 2 female fights. This is a strawweight bout. Jayde Sheeley from the United States versus Cristina Brador from the States as well. 3 5-minute rounds. Brador is 2-1 with 1 submission. Never been finished in a fight. Win is her pattern in her career. 4 inches of height over Sheeley. Small resume for her. Sheeley 3-1 with 2 submissions. She's been knocked out once. All those fights are taking place in LFA though. She's won 3 straight since dropping her debut, including her last fight via submission. Used to fight up at 125, 0-1 in pro grappling. A year younger than Brador.
So I'm going to expect Sheeley, being that she's on a 3-fight winning streak and her record looks a little bit better, is going to come in probably negative 180 or something like that. And both of these two have weird fights on their record where I'm not going to completely play record revision, but Sheeley was winning one of her fights. She wound up getting the win anyway, but she was winning one of the fights by armbar. She got repeatedly kicked in the head while she tried to hit the armbar from the mat. And won weirdly by DQ. And then Brador's only loss was to Leslie Hernandez, who's been on Contender Series. She's the one who lost to that Samurai Fight House champion, Julieta Martinez. And and I mean the scoring of the fight was dubious at best. At one point in time, Cub Swanson was like, he literally said the words you have got to be kidding me with those scorecards. So I really think Brador should be 3-0, and I'm going to take her in this fight. I think, like I said, she's going to be 155, 160 kind of range. Because their records are tight, they're kind of new. But basically, I just really like the work that Brador does in the clinch. Both of these gals are really physical. Both kind of have their errors in terms of striking. Brador's a little bit too upright and maybe doesn't put her whole body behind her punches. Sheeley kind of has the opposite problem. She probably puts too much of her body behind the punches and throws a little wild. In the clinch, they're both pretty strong physically. But technically, I give the edge to Brador. She's better at digging the underhook. She's better at turning her opponent around. She's better at using sweeps when she does wind up on the bottom of positions or doing technical get-ups. Whereas Sheeley's just kind of used to being the bully in terms of her physicality. And I think when she runs into somebody who's technical, like Cristina Brador, I think she's going to have a lot of trouble with that. I think Brador, the technical aspect of digging the underhook should tire out Sheeley, I imagine. And it's also just going to make her look bad in a lot of situations. So I expect Brador to kind of be the grinder in this fight, do everything right, and I expect her to come out with the decision win.
All right, excellent. These weren't the ladies you're speaking of, right? For the UFC, nope. They're still too early in their careers at this point, right? All right, I figured. Let's move on to another female fight. One of these ladies, Gumby's high on. One of them has a Canadian flag beside her name. That would be Sierra Dinwoodie. So he's not into her. We're skipping over another Canadian that's fighting as well. Maybe he'll.
That fight popped
him
up on the main card. I'm not quite sure if that'll be before or after Sheeley versus Brador, but I'm gonna say after, and we'll just live with it being us being a touch out of order.
You pick whatever fights you want, Gumby. Dinwoodie versus Aguirre. Dinwoodie, Sierra Dinwoodie, Canada. Nikol, Nikol, fancy spelling. Aguirre from the United States, 3 5-minute rounds. A couple of ladies early in their careers as well, but Gumby will know plenty about them regardless. Aguirre, no moss. It's a nickname. 2-0 with 2 knockouts. This is her debut. 0-3 as a pro grappler. Dinwoodie, 3-0, 1 knockout, 1 submission. 1-0 in LFA. Used to fight at 145. 3 years younger than Aguirre, 7 inches taller, 5 inches reach. So massive gap here, because Aguirre is 5'4" bantamweight.
That's weird.
Kind of crazy.
She looks every bit that too.
Yeah, but she's in shape. But yes, and Dinwoodie is massive, a 5'11".
Yeah, she's super lanky. Yeah, and this is gonna shock you, Jeff. So maybe don't have any of that drink in your mouth that you just took a sip of. Dinwoodie's the one who I think will be in the UFC undoubtedly at some point in time.
Nice.
So first of all, I picked against her in her last fight. She fought Hope Chase, a prospect I'm quite high on. I still think Hope Chase might be a contender series type at some point in time in her career. Granted, we're talking a couple years away for both of these two anyway, because Dinwoodie's only 2 or 3-0 at this point. But she absolutely handled Hope Chase. And Hope Chase has got a nice wrestling background. She throws hands nice, but Dinwoodie is just so good in the clinch. Both her positioning, the knees, the elbows, the ways that she throws her opponent's arms into positions that make them she sets up head and arm chokes from standing, and then uses it as a takedown, and then is already in the head and arm choke. Because she came close to submitting Hope Chase multiple times, which I did not see coming when that fight started. And then when you look at Aguirre, she, not that she's bad. As a matter of fact, she's coming from Kambache, which we've noted time and time again is a good regional promotion. But if you look at her in those fights, first of all, the striking doesn't look flawless. She's throwing kind of big and maybe a little arm heavy. And then, I pretty much felt like I could stop watching within the first 3 minutes of the tape I did on her, because she got in the clinch and the first thing she did was try to elbow her way out of it. And elbows to the shoulder or the thigh or whatever she could reach. She was trying to elbow on her opponent, and then her opponent just threw her around wherever they wanted. And granted, she worked her way back up and stuff like that. But when you're fighting somebody who is as talented as Dinwoodie in the clinch, you can't do stuff like that, because at the end of the day, it's going to cost you, right? In Kambache, with the couple of fighters that she fought, which were as green as she is, they have good matchmaking there, so it's not like it's a mismatch under any circumstance. Those fighters didn't take advantage of Aguirre when they had the chance. Dinwoodie 100% is going to circle to the back and choke her out if that happens. So if she does not do the smart technical thing in that sense, she's going to get taken advantage of here. And so as a result, I think Dinwoodie is just going to wind up with her back and with a submission pretty quick in this fight.
What do you think the odds are going to be?
I think with Dinwoodie having beaten a prospect like Chase in her last fight, and her records, just a touch better, they got similar records, but a touch better. I'll say -250. She's an LFA gal, and she's coming off a win over a hot prospect. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was 3-1 or, even higher than that, but we'll say -250.
Topology says Dinwoodie 96%.
Yeah.
Yikes. And it says Brador 10%. So maybe you'll get really good odds on Brador.
Ooh, right? Yeah, that's lower than I would have thought on Brador, but that's got to be, the books have to have known. Well, maybe they don't. I always say the books have to have known. They have no idea
why
that
exactly
she would have beaten Leslie Hernandez, who's on Contender Series and is a competitive fighter.
Because how could they know if they don't have you employed? Seriously, they have so many lines to make. I'm sure they wait.
Call me.
Yeah, exactly. They wait until you make everyone jump on the line that's incorrect, and then they'll adjust it accordingly. So, all right. Before we dive into more lines, we're going to move. Let's tell you about Edge Boost. SGPN has partnered up with Edge Boost, the premier Visa debit card for bettors. An Edge Boost card allows, once I read it properly, allows you, that's what I'm talking to you, allows you to avoid the hassle of having your card denied at the sportsbook, DFS site, sweepstake site, racetrack, or casino. Plus, you can earn up to $750 per month in cashback rewards for using your Edge Boost card. And you know your money is safe as the card is FDIC insured. The best part is no credit checks. It's completely free. Sign up today and use the promo code SGPN so you get better cashback rewards and instant tier 2 status. Obviously, we're using our Edge Boost rewards on Al Horford prop plays. Obviously, that's all we play around these parts. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code SGPN. And mybookie.ag, we are brought to you by them as well. MyBookie is your place to bet every sport, plus props for every game and the live dealer casino. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. Easy deposits and lightning fast payouts using crypto. Once again, Al Horford are the place to make there. But until they post LFA odds, and then I'm sure they will have LFA lines up probably midweek or so. So get in on the plays Gumby's telling you to make over at mybookie.ag. And when you do go there, make sure you use our code MMA SGPN. That way you get 100% deposit match up to $1,000 plus a $10 casino chip. That's mybookie.ag, promo code MMA SGPN. I forgot what I was going to ask you off the top. Some Yahoo on YouTube is besmirching your name again, claiming that you got all your Aries picks wrong.
Yeah, I went 3 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought.
It wasn't a great 3 and 2 because there were a couple of heavy favorites in there. So it was, it was a lost day, but it was really almost 4 and 1. Benache was beating the hell out of his opponent to the point where his face was all bloody. We were only a few minutes into the fight, and then he got armbarred out of nowhere. So we take our losses the way we do, but we were really close to 4 and 1 and a profitable day.
And that's a big improvement because Aries.
Aries kicked my butt the first time. So this was when he came at me for this one, I was like, this is the good Aries. I did much better this time.
Exactly. He's moving in the right direction. All right. Good. I want to make sure I wasn't missing something. What? I'm pretty sure Gumby. Because I remember
hitting back elbow in the main event too. It's nasty.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. We got some big boys up next for you. Joe really Taylor versus Phillip Latu, heavyweights, both Americans.
Sort of heavyweights. They're neither
sort of heavyweights. Yeah, that's true. Moving on up, heavyweights. Latu is the doctor. I don't think he's really a doctor though, right?
I don't think so.
6-2 is 6 knockouts. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. He owes his rounds. Damn it. This is his debut in LFA. He's won 4 of his last 5. Got TKO'd in his last fight, which was on the Contender Series, which was against who?
Navajo Sterling.
Right. That's a rough fight. So he was down at 205, which is where I don't even know if he's fought. I think he might have fought once or twice at heavyweight.
No, he's fought a lot. He's fought a lot at light heavyweight. He's a light heavyweight. I think he's fought at middleweight.
I didn't see that, but perhaps. 2-1 in kickboxing and a champion there. 0-1 is a pro boxer. 7 years younger than Taylor. 4 inches taller, 3 inches of reach. So he's got the length at the very least for the weight class.
7 years younger than Taylor. He's 33.
Yeah. Taylor's son of a legend. Apparently his dad was a boxer. I had to Google. So he's not a massive legend, but apparently he was a boxer of some repute. He is 6-0 with 1 knockout, 2-0 in LFA, a regional champ. Used to fight at middleweight and light heavyweights. Yeah, these guys are just eating well now. 1-0 in pro boxing, 5-1 in kickboxing, and multiple championships there. Based off their weigh-ins at heavyweight, Taylor was about 10 pounds heavier. Taylor was 225 and Latu was 214 or 15 last times the two fought at heavyweight. So guys just don't feel like cutting weight apparently here. So who you got, Gumby?
Yeah, I think this is a case where they're both going to come in right around 225 and just nobody's cutting weight. Which whatever. Taylor's 40 years old. If he doesn't want to cut weight at this point, I respect the hell out of that. I think in this one, I'm going to say Latu slight favorite. Obviously coming off being knocked out, but also being on Contender Series. Slight edge in his favor. His record looks a little worse than Taylor's, obviously, so that'll pull it back towards the mean. I'll say negative 140, negative 145 maybe for Latu. I'm going to take Latu in this one. I think, if you've watched Taylor, actually, let's start with Latu. Latu is a big puncher. He puts his whole ass into every single strike he throws. He doesn't do anything half it. It almost feels like, I don't mean to just make this a Pacific Islander thing, but it's almost like Justin Tafa in the way that he throws. It's just like everything has got his whole body behind it, and it's kind of got that thud to it. And I appreciate that about him. When he was going to be on Contender Series, I was like, Navajo Sterling, good prospect, but I was like, Latu, and I picked Sterling in that fight, but I was like, Latu just hits hard enough that like if he's not ready for it, like just one of those thudding shots could put him out. And so like Latu's exciting him like that. But the big problem with him is he's super hittable. Because he's putting his whole self behind every strike. He's often not ready for counters. He also doesn't seem concerned about counters. Maybe because he's only ever been knocked out once, and that was in his last fight. And hopefully that doesn't jar him too much. Because I think the reason I like him so much in this fight is Joe Taylor just doesn't hit really hard. He's got pretty good boxing fundamentals. His footwork's all right, but he plods a little bit. He lives on the jab. Even the straights and hooks he throws, I'm not really blown away by the amount of power they got on him. I could see him
one knockout.
Yeah.
That's it. So
yeah. And it wasn't even all that impressive of a knockout, if we're being frank. And whereas like if you watch any of Latu's ones, they're those knockouts where you're like, oh damn. Like they're those kinds of knockouts where you're like, that guy fell in a way you don't expect guys to fall. And so, like, for me, even if Taylor is like the more technical guy, maybe he even throws more volume. Maybe he's a guy who comes in here and is like ahead on the significant strike counts. I still think he's going to get tagged with something Latu throws. I just think Latu throws hard enough that like Taylor isn't going to be able to stay away from them the whole time. And he's not going to punish Latu for making mistakes. So give me Phillip Latu. I'm expecting a slight favorite.
You hear half-ass lap, but you don't hear full-ass. He
throws it with his full ass.
58% are in a Latu, so hopefully that means we get a good line.
That's actually smaller than I thought it'd be.
Yeah, exactly. All right, co-main event time. Very, very good co-main event, at least in my eyes. Shuya Kamikubo from Japan, Bakhtovar Yunusov from United States. I surprised you there, Swerve.
He's originally from it's
somewhere where they have
Tajikistan and also Kurdistan. Because he waves the Kurdistan flag sometimes.
Okay,
you mentioned on a previous episode, you're like, I don't know if we have too many Kurdistani flag fighters, and Yunusov is a guy who waves at least his Kurdistani ancestors, I believe.
Right. He is the Dominator, not just Dominator, actually. And you could be that. Dominator Cruz retired, so Dominator's all yours now.
You can have it.
Yep, Yunusov. He relinquishes it with his retirement. Dominator is 10-0, so that's actually a good record to have if your name's Dominator. 5 knockouts, 3 submissions. This is his LFA debut. He's won 4 straight fights via finish. He's not fought, though, since April 2023. He's fight at 145, 3 years younger than Kamikubo, 4 inches height, 1 inch of reach on him. Kamikubo Stealth is the nickname. Decent nickname. 14-2-1, 3 knockouts, 4 submissions. Never been finished in any fight. This is his debut as well. Won his last via submission. That was back in December 2023. So a couple of long layoffs for these guys. 1-1 in road to UFC. 6-0 in 1 championship. So he's taking a huge step down. He's fight at 145. 2014 Pro MMA debut. 1-0 in pro grappling, but he won a championship in that one fight. So by my eyes, we got a couple of strong guys debuting here in LFA.
Yeah, this is a great fight. I kind of like Kamikubo deciding to, like he was close to being in the UFC, deciding to come to LFA, and like that's the best avenue to get back. Like he, a lot of times you see those road to the UFC guys like not get in, and then like all of a sudden they're in one, or all of a sudden they're in Ryzen, or all like, and it makes sense. Like those are better paying, but like he clearly cares about being in the UFC. He's got a good management team, and this is a sick fight. I don't know how to line this one because mentally I was like Kamikubo should be the favorite, right? He was on road to the UFC. He's got some good wins. He's the recognizable name. He's got a wrestling background. He's got that gnarly cauliflower ear to the point where you like know that dude came from a wrestling background. So I was like, I was thinking maybe like negative 180. And I've got people in my ear telling me that Yunusov is going to be the favorite here when it posts. And that's interesting to me. So as you guys know, who have watched this show before, usually when that happens, I just say pick them because I think one way, they think the other way. Who knows where it's going to be? If this is a pick 'em, I think there's value on Yunusov. I'm going to go with Yunusov in this fight. And the reason just being is that like, if you watch Kamikubo's fight with Long Xiao, who's the one who beat him on road to the UFC, he all he wants to do is wrestle. And Long Xiao was big enough and physical enough to stop the wrestling, force him to strike. And like he got tired from trying to wrestle so much. Kamikubo striking is not ready for the highest level. I had pegged that guy as being the road to the UFC champ. I'm like, this guy is going to run through this division with that wrestling. But like, as soon as he ran into somebody who could stuff it, he had no answers at all. And I think Yunusov is a guy who can stuff it. Yunusov is a guy who does rely a lot on his own offensive wrestling, which, to be candid, I don't think is good enough to take down Kamikubo, but I do think it's enough to stuff Kamikubo's attempts in his own right. I also know he's been training with Team Daniel Gracie, Marquez MMA down in Pennsylvania, which is a good spot to be if you're going to be a guy who stuffs high-level wrestlers, as Jeff was alluding to at the beginning of the show. So that's good for Yunusov. And then, like, if this stays on the feet, look, Yunusov's a little wild. He does throw kind of wide hooks, and he is kind of nuts in terms of his striking that way. But, like, man, do I think it's so much better than Kamikubo. And not only is it so much better than Kamikubo, it does so much more damage than any of Kamikubo's striking. And if Shuya gets tired in this fight, starts backing up against the cage, I can see Yunusov just teeing off until this one's over. So give me Bakhtovar and Yunusov, and we're going to call it a pick.
91% are in on him. So either those people are really smart, or you're going to get some bad odds. Yeah.
Man, maybe that's the reason why the people I've talked to think that way.
Yeah.
But man, like, I can't imagine a dude who like won a fight on road to the UFC and like, I mean, he ran out of gas in that fight with Long Xiao, but he's since won another fight. I just can't imagine being like off Kamikubo already. That being said, I just picked against him.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Put your money where your mouth is, guy. All right. We're to the main event. After I remind you that we were brought to you by Underdog, NBA, NHL, college basketball, whatever your sport, you can cash in big with Underdog Fantasy Pick'em. You can cash in even bigger with play that Gummy's going to give to you off the top of his head here.
Yeah, so the NBA does not come back until Wednesday, which is kind of a bummer. But the Lakers are playing the Hornets on the only Wednesday game. And for that game, I'm going to take the higher than on Rui Hachimura's points. In the last 5 games, he's gone over 23 times, and he was actually the Lakers' high scorer in their last game before break. So give me the higher than on Rui Hachimura's points.
All right. He went to Gonzaga, I should mention to everyone.
Yeah, he did. He did go to Gonzaga. How did you know?
What a surprise that Gummy picked them. Sign up with our code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. And SGPN's partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds. Build your model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build you a model. They got college basketball, they got NBA, they got every other sport that's in season. Rhythm has it all. Baseball soon. Pitchers and catchers have reported. It doesn't look like it out the window here, but spring is just around the corner. So check it all out at Rhythm. Obviously, Al Horford props they have as well. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. All right, to our main event. Little guys, flyweights. Phumi, Nkuta, United States, Adrian Garcia, United States, 3 5-minute rounds because no belts are on the line in this fight. Garcia is the elusive. So we go from stealth to the elusive. He's 8-2-1 with 2 knockouts. He's been knocked out once, 1-0 in LFA. He's 1-1-1 over his last 3, 7-1-1 over his last 9. He did win his last fight, though, most importantly. He's not lost since November 2022. 2 years younger than Nkuta, 4 inches of height, 3 inches of reach on him. Nkuta Turbo, which is the appropriate nickname for a little flyweight. He's 8-0, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. This is his debut. TKO win in his last fight. Multiple regional championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. Get sticky. 1-0 in Bellator. Used to fight at 135. 6-1-1 in pro grappling. So he's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5. Basically, half the fighters we're breaking down are undefeated here. So it's a very, very strong fight card.
And you forgot to mention he's coming off of a pro wrestling win over Matt Riddle.
Oh, for real? I didn't.
Yeah. Did you know he actually retired for 2 years from MMA to pursue pro wrestling?
Really?
He's like very, and I'm not a pro wrestling guy anymore. Like I was when I was a kid, but like I watched the highlights of the fight with him and Matt Riddle. Like he knows what he's doing in the ring, which is
so small though, isn't he? Isn't he tiny?
Yeah. It was like a very like Matt Riddle played like the big, tough, strong guy in that one, which is kind of funny because Matt Riddle's not that big either.
No, it's like welterweight or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, he was. I'm sure he's like all juiced up now. Well, I won't say juice, but like, he's buff.
He's bigger now.
He's a buff guy now. Yeah, I think Phumi Nkuta is going to come here massive favorite, -450, -500, and I'm all over him. Even at that, like, probably stick him in a parlay. This is a guy I'm perplexed. They're doing a flyweight season, The Ultimate Fighter. How is he not in there? How has he not already been signed? How has he not been on the last 3 seasons of Contenders? Like, he is a guy who straight up belongs in the UFC. And I will give you a quick rundown of why he's not. It's 2 things. Number 1, I think Dana White maybe has trauma with a guy with an N in the front of his name and then another consonant like that.
Yeah, he might want money, right?
Yeah, he might want money or stuff like that. And then another one is he's a Cerro Longo guy. He's good friends with Merab and Aljo. And like Merab and Aljo, every single time Nkuta fights, like post clips of him and are like, how is this guy not in the UFC? And tag McMaynard. And I think Dana's just doing it out of spite because this guy belongs in the UFC.
That will get you out of the UFC. If someone pushes too hard for you, they're going to be like, no, forget it.
Yeah. And then on top of that too, like maybe his style is not what the UFC is looking for because look, I do think similar to kind of when Aljo was coming up and when Merab was coming up, like his striking is very rote. Like it looks like he's hitting pads. There's no variation for what he's throwing. He's not like tricky. He's not like doing anything from weird. It's just like he looks like he's doing things right, but not like surprising or fast or particularly good. What's really good about him is his grappling game. His wrestling is above average, I would say, like in terms of, he goes from single to double and he has some trips and stuff like that. So he uses a wide variety of takedowns, but it's his positioning that really sets him apart from the rest of the flyweight division is that like when he is on the ground, he moves from position to position to position and he holds people down exceptionally well. Like it is really hard to get out from underneath this guy. And then like when you watch Adrian Garcia, first of all, the guy is very plotting, which let me tell you, is not something you want to be against a guy with a good takedown. You don't want to be walking forward stiff-legged against that guy. And then in addition to that, is he keeps sort of every time he swings himself into the clinch. You don't want to be in the clinch with Phumi Nkuta. So I'm just seeing Garcia somehow wind up in these grappling exchanges. I don't think they end well for him. Give me Phumi Nkuta to cap off my night.
All right, let's see what the 99% has say the
not high
topology
enough.
people stuff. Yeah. Good. I'm looking forward to seeing him fight then. All right, that's a recap, and then Gummy will get you some bonus picks, lightning round picks. He's got Nkuta. He has got Yunusov. He has got Latu. He has got Dinwoodie, not Spencer Dinwoodie. This is a different girl.
I like Dinwoodie.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I don't. I don't think he's very good. Shoots too much. He's all right. And then he's got Brador, but this is
I like those guys who shoot too much.
It's true.
I'm a Grady Dick fan.
It's true. All right. Gumby, lightning round, Zap and Boom Pow. What you got for the people?
Yeah, I got 2 for you. I'm going to start with Kevin Carrier. Like the top game out of this guy. Nice arm triangle choke last time out. I think he's 3-0 in his professional career. He just looks like he's a fight or 2 away from being like a main card prospect for these guys. Probably setting him up with a win here. I think you might not see too good odds on his name, but like he's the guy for me in this one. And then the other one I'm going to take is Jacob Wiggins. I think he's going to come in here as probably a pretty big dog. He's fought much lower level competition than his opponent, but I watched one of his fights and like I really think he's kind of sharp on the feet, and more importantly, he's got big hands. So I could see like even if he wasn't getting the best of the exchanges in his fight, I could see him landing a late knockout. So Jacob Wiggins and Kevin Carrier, ones to keep an eye on the prelims.
All right, you're all set for this weekend or this Friday, more specifically in Niagara Falls. You can get more goodness from us in our Discord. It looked like it was, I just kind of scrolled last night. It looks like it was jumping. Lots of people in there, lots of newer or people we don't see so often in there. So Discord is still growing. Check us out at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Check us out on YouTube. If you aren't already, make sure you subscribe. You can hit us up in the comments there. Tell Gumby he got all his picks wrong when really you're not trolling, you're gaslighting. Would that be a form of gaslighting, Gumby?
Yeah, I would say that word.
Making up lies.
I mean, or just like, straight up lying.
Yeah, just straight up lying, right? Let's not sugarcoat it. So that's, of course, MMA Gambling Podcast. We are on Twitter, SGPN MMA. Gumby runs that. He's Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer there and on Instagram. Check out my Substack, check out all my writing there. A lot of it's statistical and or gambling slanted. Plus, more importantly, if you like free stuff, a free pick'em contest for the UFC every week. So check it out, moneymma.substack.com. Gumby has Top Turtle MMA podcast. Yeah, the other very good episode last week. Morales was a very good interview. You get,
he's always a good time.
you get good stuff out of people. It's not, Gumby's interviews aren't these stupid aerial style interviews where it's just, looking for stupid headlines and stuff. He actually gets deep with people. People are actually open up and, give you good stuff. So who is giving you good stuff this week?
The first one is Mansour Abdul-Malik, who is fighting for his second time in the UFC. Love talking to this guy. He's like wildly cerebral when he talks to me.
Is he the guy that not a chef? Is he big into cooking too? Is that the guy or not?
No,
I don't think it's someone else.
Definitely not him.
Okay.
All he talks about is his mental space in MMA.
Okay.
It's like it's not galaxy brain either, which is the other weird thing. Like usually when they only talk about their mental space, you're like, oh,
yeah,
this guy's out there. No,
crystals.
He's like very, very level-headed, but also like really cerebral. So it's always a really interesting interview. And then also on the episode, we got Octagon champion Sam Creasy, who's defending his belt this weekend.
We love us some Octagon. We're going to talk about it very, very soon. So that's good. Good to see that you're getting big Octagon names on there. I shouldn't make fun of crystals because obviously they must be doing something because Jared Cannonier came through last night. So, all right. So check out Top Turtle. Always a good listen. Like I said, if you're tired of the stuff you get off the mainstream interviews, Gumby does a very good job interviewing these fighters, and fighters are actually interesting. That they're not just they don't just want to talk about beefs with people and stupid stuff like that. So check it out, and of course, sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon, so you can get some bonus content. We'll be back tomorrow. More content from us. Tomorrow is all about Fury FC, and the next day is going to be all about Octagon, and then UFC. So you're going to be set for the week. We'll be Turbo Jeff Fox, the elusive Gumby Reland. We'll talk to you then.